In this video, I'm going to be talking about a zoo-themed story time that would be appropriate for preschoolers. You'll find this preschool story time on the zoo handout that I have uploaded to the website, and a books about the zoo reader's advisory list that goes along with it. So I encourage you to have these out as I go through the video so you can follow along. To start the zoo story time, I have a hello song already on the handout, but you could really throw in any hello song that you wanted to do. You can check the links down below for the videos I did on hello and goodbye songs. But if you wanted to do the one with sign language, I'll go ahead and sing it again for you here, just so you can see how it would flow into the story time. So it goes like this. Hello friends, hello friends, hello friends, it's time to say hello. And I would do that 2 times through with the kids and the parents and teach them the friend sign and the hello sign. So to get started with story time, the first book I would share would be a book called Never Ever Shout in the Zoo, and it is by Karma Wilson and Doug Cushman. And this is a great book because it has a lot of phrases that build on each other. So for example, it says he might get a dreadful idea, a dreadful disastrous idea. So it helps the kids by using that repetition and by building phrases, which can help their vocabulary. It also has a lot of repetition, so the phrase, uh-oh, don't say I didn't warn you, is repeated quite often. And it's just a fun little story about a girl who shouts in a zoo and ends up letting all of the animals loose, and the kids and the parents end up in the cages where the animals were. The only thing about this book is that some of the pictures can be a little bit small, so I would use this book if I were doing a story time with maybe 10 kids or less. If I had a really, really large group of kids, I might choose a different book just because this one's pictures are on the smaller side for a story time book. After I shared that book, I would go ahead and get into some songs and some action rhymes. So the first one is about an elephant, and you would have the kids stand up and go really slowly through this action rhyme and do it maybe 2 or 3 times through so that they had a chance to learn it. And it goes like this. The elephant moves from side to side. He's terribly big and he's terribly wide. He has no fingers, he has no toes, but goodness gracious, what a long nose. And I love to end that one by telling them to plop their big trunks right into their lap and to sit back down. And once you have them seated, you can do a little hand song action rhyme called 5 Little Monkeys, and just tell them to hold up their 5 fingers, and I usually count them off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I tell them these are going to be their 5 little monkeys, and they're going to be swinging from a tree today. And then I tell them there's going to be a crocodile in our story, and I have everyone make clapping hands to signal the crocodile. And then I go ahead and sing this song with them. 5 little monkeys swinging from a tree, teasing Mister Crocodile, can't catch me. Along comes Mister Crocodile, quiet as can be, and snap that monkey right out of that tree. Now there were 4 little monkeys swinging from a tree, teasing Mister Crocodile, can't catch me. Along comes Mister Crocodile, quiet as can be, and snap that monkey right out of that tree. And I would continue that with 3 little monkeys, 2 little monkeys, 1 little monkey, and then when you get down to no little monkeys, you can sing this verse. Now there were no little monkeys swinging from a tree. I better watch out or he might catch me. And kind of leave the kids with that warning that watch out for those crocodiles and those sneaky little monkeys. After those 2 little rhymes, a really great way to kind of break up the middle of your story time is to do a felt story or a puppet story. So the one I recommend for a zoo story time is based on this book called Dear Zoo by Rod Campbell. And it's just the story of a kid who writes to the zoo asking them to send him a pet. And of course the zoo sends him all of these wild animals. And then finally at the very end they send him a puppy. So I will go ahead and zoom in on the felt story that I created based on this book. And it works really well in a story time because you can have the kids guess which animals are underneath each of the boxes. So I will go ahead and show that to you right now. Okay, so that was the felt story that I created based on Dear Zoo. Another way you could tell that story is by just getting a really large box and maybe writing from the zoo on it, and then just putting the stuffed animals inside the box and telling it as an oral story. And then as you tell which animals arrive at the little kid's house, you could pull them out of the box and show them to the kids, and maybe even pass around the stuffed animals. So that could be another way to make it a little bit more interactive. After the second book, I would sing a few more rhymes and songs, and these next two require the kids to stand up and to get out some of their energy. The first one's called 5 Baby Kangaroos. So again, I would count off on my fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have everyone make little kangaroos by putting their paws right here and kind of bending their knees because we're going to be doing some jumping. And this is how that one goes. 5 baby kangaroos standing in a row, and when they see their mother, they jump just so. They jump to the left, they jump to the right. One jumps in his mother's pouch to sleep through the night. Now there are 4 baby kangaroos standing in a row, and when they see their mother, they jump just so. They jump to the left, they jump to the right. One jumps in his mother's pouch to sleep through the night. And then you repeat those 3, 2, 1, and when you get down to your last verse, you can say, there were no baby kangaroos standing in a row. When they saw their mother, they jumped just so. They jumped to the left, they jumped to the right, they jumped down the road till they were out of sight. And that's a great one because it kind of shows the kids how we use past tense when we're speaking about things that already happened. And just some tips for that song. When I'm doing it facing the kids, I will often point which way I want them to jump, just to help them follow along. And I think I did it the opposite way here in this video, but usually you're supposed to jump the opposite of what the song is so that it mirrors what the kids are supposed to be doing. So when I say jump left, I should have been jumping right. The next song is called If I Were a Tiny Snake, and it's to the tune of the Mulberry Bush. And I tell the kids to get their snakes ready, so we make a little snake with our hands, and then we sing this song. And there are 3 verses that I will sing for you today. If I were a tiny snake, a tiny snake, a tiny snake. If I were a tiny snake, I'd slither around the zoo. If I were an elephant, an elephant, an elephant. If I were an elephant, I'd march around the zoo. If I were a kangaroo, a kangaroo, a kangaroo. If I were a kangaroo, I'd hop around the zoo. And it's a great chance to ask the kids for suggestions for animals that they want to act out. I usually take 2 or 3 suggestions, and if no one suggests anything, then I have one off the top of my head that I'll go ahead and just throw in there for them. And the last book I would read at story time would be a nonfiction book. Books about animals are usually in abundance in the nonfiction section. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a hold of Life Size Zoo, which is one that I recommend for purchase. But books like that, Scappoose has a book called Zoo Babies that looks like a great nonfiction book. This book is called Zoo Borns, and it's a nonfiction book that just describes the different baby animals that they have at a zoo, and it kind of gives a little bit of information about each of those animals in terms of their characteristics, their eating habits, their physical appearance. Another option, you could just find any book that has really great pictures of animals. So this one's called Incredible Animals, and it's very, very long. So I would just choose, maybe 5 or 6 animals to showcase in a book like this. So here's the whale, here's a little frog, and it has some really interesting information on the side that you could either summarize or you could read straight from the page. So books with really vivid image pictures of animals that give some factual information is a great way to end a zoo-based story time. And the last song I would sing is called the Zoo Animal Song, and it's to the tune of If You're Happy and You Know It. And this is another song where you can ask for suggestions from the kids. I usually start with If You Want to Be a Lion, Roar Out Loud. So this is how it goes. If you want to be a lion, roar out loud, roar, roar. If you want to be a lion, roar out loud, roar, roar. If you want to be a lion, if you want to be a lion, if you want to be a lion, roar out loud, roar, roar. You could also do, if you want to be a parrot, flap your wings. If you want to be an elephant, swing your trunk. Sometimes we get kids say things like, if you want to be a tiger, and then we just usually do roar, or things like that. You can be creative with it, or let the kids suggest what they want to do. And then we sing our goodbye song. If you wanted to match the hello song from the beginning, you could do that, which would go like this. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. And that would be the end of story time. So I encourage you to take a look at the book list for books about the zoo, because there are probably many other titles on here that would be great options to do in story time. I know another book that I recommended for purchase is called Peek-a-Zoo, which can be fun to do in story time because it's a lift the flap book and the kids have to guess who's behind the flap. So this is another great one, but I'm sure you have others in your collection that would work just as well. So thank you for watching, and this was my zoo story time.